أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We always begin this Jumu'ah, as we do every week, by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praising Him and recognizing the fact that we owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much gratitude and so much. We should thank Him for the opportunity to be here, to gather here, to sit and just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for some time every week. And these few minutes we have together, I wanted to share some lessons from a beautiful story in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about an interaction from the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And so in the life of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, he was born. We know there's a story where his mother was told to throw him into a river and to trust Allah that he would be okay. He was raised in the household of Pharaoh. He grew into a very strong young man. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that there was one day where Musa alayhi salam came across an argument between two people. One of them he knew, he didn't know the other person. It looked like the person he knew was being sort of violated or transgressed upon. So Musa alayhi salam stepped in, and because he was so strong, he actually killed the other person by accident. And so Musa alayhi salam, he's in this state where he's scared, he's worried, he's just done something that the government considers wrong, and he's told that he has to leave. So he's in this place, he's a young man, he's in a place where, this is the only place he knows. He doesn't know any other place outside of this. He's in his homeland, and now he's told that he has to flee. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about what happens in this situation where Musa alayhi salam is told to leave his home. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts this section in Surah Al-Qasas where He tells us, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فخرج منها خائفا يترقب قال رب نجني من القوم الظالمين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that the way that Musa left the town, he was afraid. He was scared, and he was yataraqab, almost like looking behind his back. Like as if he's checking to see if anyone's following him, trying to make sure that no one's coming after him. So Allah tells us that he left his town in this state of fear. And while he was in this state of fear, he made this dua. And he says, I hope that my Lord will guide me to the right road, that Allah will lead me the right way. Because he's leaving, he's fleeing. He doesn't have a plan. He's not like packed and ready to go. He's just told all of a sudden that the government's after you and you have to leave. So he's leaving in this state of fear. But even in that state of fear, he's asking Allah, like, Ya Allah, I hope that you guide me to the right path. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues. And he tells us, وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. So Allah tells us that, Musa alayhi salam, he made this dua, like, Ya Allah, I hope that I'm guided the right direction. And he goes on this journey through the desert. And the scholars of tafsir, they tell us that Musa alayhi salam spent maybe almost 8 days traveling alone in the desert in this state of fear. This whole time he's scared that someone's going to come after him, someone's going to come arrest him and drag him back. So he's going through this trip in the heat alone, afraid that someone's going to catch him. Like that's his mental state. And after 8 days of traveling like this, through heat, he's alone, he's scared. He finally reaches this town that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us is called Madian. And then Allah tells us what happens when he first arrives in this town. Again, Musa alayhi salam, he's on the road, he's alone, he's scared, it's hot outside, he's probably exhausted. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when he came to this town, he came to the well where the people would get water. But Musa alayhi salam, he noticed something. وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. That he saw around the well there was this big group of people getting water for their animals or for themselves. And he saw off to the side that there were 2 women who also had some animals with them, but they were kind of struggling with their animals. And so Musa alayhi salam, Allah tells us, قَالَ مَا خَطْبُكُمَا قَالَتَا لَا نَسْقِي حَتَّى يُصْدِرَ الرِّعَاءُ وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Musa alayhi salam, he saw this situation. He's tired, he's lonely, he's scared, he's hot and tired. But he saw that these 2 women were off to the side while everyone else was getting water. And so what he did was he went to those 2 ladies and he asked them, what's your situation? Like, why are you off to the side? Why are you here? Why is there not someone else watering your animals for you? So they said, that we're not going to water our animals until everyone else is done. وَأَبُونَا شَيْخٌ كَبِيرٌ. That our father, he's an elderly man, so he's not able to do this himself. So we have to come and water the animals for him. So again, like if we paint this picture in our heads, Musa alayhi salam, he's alone, he's worried about getting arrested, right? He's, tired, it's hot. But in the middle of all that, when he comes to this well and he sees these 2 ladies on their own, like struggling with their animals, his first instinct is to go ask them, like, what's going on? Like, how can I help? So they tell him their situation. They mention that their dad is an old man, right? It doesn't tell Musa alayhi salam anything, right? But what's Musa's reaction? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us immediately, فَسَقَى لَهُمَا. That immediately, right on the spot, once he heard that their father was old and they were there to take care of this on their family's behalf, Musa alayhi salam immediately watered their animals for them, right? And Allah, he uses the letter fa, right? Which means in Arabic that doing something right away, right? So it's not saying like Musa has told them, okay, give me some time, let me get a break, let me get myself some water, and then I'll help you. It says that he helped them right away in that moment. Then Allah tells us, what did Musa alayhi salam do after that? ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that after Musa alayhi salam, he went through this hard journey, it was hot, he was tired, he helped these people water their animals, and now he goes to the shade. Now he gets some rest. And he's sitting in the shade and he makes his dua to Allah, where he says like, and there are 2 understandings our scholars have of this dua. Both of them are very beautiful. The first one is that he's saying, Musa alayhi salam is saying, Ya Allah, whatever good you can send my way, I could use any help I could get, right? Again, he's alone, he doesn't have any protection, there's a government that's out to get him, it's hot and he's tired, like he's in this situation. So he's saying, and some scholars of tafsir say that Musa alayhi salam didn't have food for days while he was traveling in the desert. So that one understanding our scholars have is that Musa is saying, like, Ya Allah, any small thing you can give me, even if it's just food, I would be immensely grateful for any small thing that you can give me, because I need whatever help you can give me, Ya Allah. And another beautiful understanding our scholars have of this dua is that Musa alayhi salam is saying that, Ya Allah, like, I tried to do something good. Like, Ya Allah, you gave me some kind of guidance. I was in a situation. I tried to do what I could to help someone. And because of that, now I'm in this difficult situation. Like, I tried to do something good. My intention wasn't bad. I saw someone was having an argument and I tried to help. And now, as a result of that, I have to flee my people. I'm alone. I'm scared. All of these things. But the Musa alayhi salam is saying that, Ya Allah, the good that I tried to do has made me poor in this dunya. Like, now, after I tried to do something good, now I'm alone. Now I don't have anybody who has my back. Now I'm in a strange country. But the Musa alayhi salam is saying that, Ya Allah, I'm content with that. Ya Allah, I tried to do some good. Even if the outcome of it doesn't look like it's good for me, Ya Allah, I'm still content with that. So that's the reaction that Musa alayhi salam had after he had to flee his people. He saw that some people needed help and he offered them that help. And then the ayat continue where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Musa alayhi salam, after he sat under the tree and he sought this protection from Allah and this help from Allah, that those two girls, one of them came back and she told him that her father heard about what he did and that he really appreciated that and that he wanted to thank Musa alayhi salam. So she's telling him, come with me to my father. He would like to, thank you and just appreciate you for what you did. So Allah tells us that Musa alayhi salam, he walked back to her family and he spoke to her father and told him his story about how he fled and, he used to live in this other place. And so her father reassured him and told him, don't worry, Musa, like, you're safe now. And from there, like, this father, one of his daughters said, like, you should hire this guy. He's strong and he's also very trustworthy. So out of that, Musa alayhi salam also got a job, right? And this girl's father offered to hire him to work for him for the next 8 years. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shares this story in the Quran. It's just one small piece of this profound story of Musa alayhi salam. And there's so much we can take from it. But just two, kind of like the thing I really wanted to focus on is how Musa alayhi salam was eager and willing to help other people even when there was nothing in return for him, right? And that this is kind of a fundamental attitude that we have. That again, Musa alayhi salam, if we think about that moment, he was alone, he just left his people, he doesn't know anybody, right? If he carries a risk where if he goes to somebody and tells them where he's from, maybe they're going to report him and take him in, right? But even with that, right, the first thing that Musa alayhi salam did when he came to this new town is that he noticed that someone around him needed help, and he stepped up to help, right? And this is part of what makes prophets such an incredible example for us, right? Is that, part of the beauty of coming to these Jumu'ah khutbahs is that we get to hear this example and reflect on ourselves, right? Like when I'm on a road trip, if I'm traveling somewhere and I'm driving and I see a car stopped on the side of the road, right? Normally as a traveler, I think that someone local is going to help them, right? I'm in a strange place, I don't know anybody, I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going. Maybe someone else can help them, inshallah, right? That's what goes through my head. But when you look at Musa alayhi salam, even as a traveler, even as someone who didn't have food, who didn't have any protection, he still recognized that he could help, and he offered to help in whatever way that he could. So this is a beautiful thing, right? And another lesson here is that sometimes, we think that we're doing something really important and we shouldn't get interrupted, right? Like Musa alayhi salam, he's trying to find safety for himself. It's like, oh, what's the point? Like these people, they're just trying to get water. Like that's not relevant, right? But prophets understood that they were never above helping other people, right? Like even for us, if we're walking out of the masjid and we see that an elderly uncle is trying to get their shoes down off of the shoe rack, right? Maybe we think that, oh, I have to run, I have an appointment or a meeting, or like I need to get back home. This small thing that I see, I could help someone, but it's not important, right? But that's not the mentality that prophets had, right? Whether it's Prophet Musa alayhi salam, whether it's the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that they understood that if there's any way that I can be of service to the people around me, then I should do it, right? Even if it's something simple at home, right? Sometimes we ignore the fact that in our own families, maybe it's a child who needs help tying their shoes, or like someone just came home with groceries and they need help unloading it into the house, right? We might feel like we have more important things to do, but when we look at the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, we learn that that's not the attitude that I should have, right? If there's a way that I can help people around me and I can do it, then I should embody the attitude of Prophet Musa alayhi salam and just do it, right? But then, so that's one piece of it, right? Is this aspect that prophets understood that it wasn't beneath them to help other people. But in the world that we live in, right, there's another important piece of this where sometimes we help people, but we want recognition, right? Like when you go to a college campus, all the buildings are named after somebody, right? And why are they named after someone? Because someone made a donation. And again, Allah knows what their intentions are, but we live in a world where, like, someone makes a big donation, they want to see some kind of recognition, right? They want to see their name on a building, or they want to see it on a plaque when they walk in, or something like that. Or I was just watching the other day with my wife, there are these pages on Instagram where people will go around and like give food out to people, and they'll make like reels of it, and then you watch it and you're like, wow, that's so inspiring. May Allah accept those good deeds, but the question for ourselves is like, if I am doing this, if my camera is not working today, am I still going to go out and feed people? Or am I only doing it because I want to post a video that people appreciate and say, wow, I'm such a good person, right? We learn from the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam that he didn't ask the people he was helping, he didn't ask them for anything. He didn't tell them like, oh, if you protect me if you can offer me protection from the government that's coming after me, then I'll help you. That wasn't his approach, right? Musa alayhi salam understood that, our job is to help people and be there for people for the sake of Allah and seeking the pleasure of Allah. And that's what he does. He helps them, and then he goes to the tree, the shade, and he asks Allah for assistance. And Allah provides that assistance. Allah does come through, right? So this is a powerful lesson that we can take from this small story from the life of Musa alayhi salam, is that even though he was in a situation where he was bothered, he was uncomfortable, he was traveling, he was a stranger, he was alone, he was tired, even when he was in that situation, when he saw that there was a way he could help the people around him, and he knew that he could do that, first of all, he didn't think it was too small, he didn't ignore the opportunity, and he didn't expect any recognition from them. Like, it's fascinating that the tafsirs even tell us that initially when this lady came to tell Musa alayhi salam, my father wants to thank you, that he initially declined. That he said, no, like, I did not help you to get any kind of reward or appreciation from your father. Like, I only helped you because I felt like you needed help. Like, that's what I do. It's not because I'm expecting anything from anyone. And the tafsir mentioned that, Musa alayhi salam agreed to go, and he agreed to go meet this girl's father because he thought maybe I can get some blessing or some dua from this person and just get their duas for being a helpful human being. And so this is a key mentality that we learn from the small story in the life of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. When we see that people around us need help, even if our situation is difficult, even if we don't know this person's going to help us later on, that as Muslims we understand that our job is just to be in the service of the people around us. And if we can help, then we do it, and we expect the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So we've been talking about this moment from the life of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, where he fled his hometown. He was traveling in the desert for days alone, afraid of a government coming after him. And at the end of that journey, when he reached the well of Madian, he saw that there were people around him who needed help, and so he was able to just step up and help them without expecting any reward from them, without expecting to be recognized, without expecting a statue of him to be built in the town of Madian or anything like that. And so we've been talking about what Musa alayhi salam did, but the final point I wanted to share before we wrap up is what gave Musa alayhi salam the strength and the ability and the conviction to do that. And Allah knows, but one secret that we see, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us in the Quran, is that in every moment of that story, Musa alayhi salam was connected to Allah making a dua, right? So when he was scared, when he was leaving the town, he asked Allah to guide him in a direction that would be good for him, right? Whenever he saw that the ladies needed help, after that, immediately he goes to the shade of the tree and he makes a dua to Allah saying, Ya Allah, whatever good you can send my way, like I am desperately in need of any kind of good. And so we see that it's that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gave Musa the ability and the strength and the wisdom to understand that even in these moments where I am tired, where I feel like I can't help the people around me, because he had that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he would recharge in all of those moments by turning to Allah and asking for his help. That made it easier for him to do something that we might look at as hard, right? And so that's another beautiful lesson that we see, is that if we want to learn how to be more like Musa alayhi salam, how can we try to be more helpful in these small moments? We recognize that the way Musa alayhi salam did it was by turning to Allah in every one of those moments. And whatever he needed or whatever he wanted, when he wanted safety, he asked Allah for that. When he wanted food or some kind of sustenance, he asked Allah for that. And that gave him the strength. When he asked Allah, that made it easier for him to serve the people. And so, just a reminder for myself and all of us to try to learn from this example from the life of Musa alayhi salam, and to try to be eager to help the people around us without expecting any reward or recognition from them, right? And whether that's helping a spouse doing a chore at home, or helping a child do something small like tying their shoe, like Musa alayhi salam looked around and noticed who needed help without being asked, right? He didn't wait for someone to come and ask him like, hey, you look really strong, can you help me with this water? He noticed what was happening around him, and he proactively went to go help those people. And so, just a reminder for myself and all of us to learn from the life of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam, to understand that we should try to notice how we can help the people around us, and then ask Allah for the help and the strength to make that happen and to actually help those people. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروه يذكركم واشكروه يزد لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Try to fill in any gaps in the row ahead of you. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. فخرج منها خائفا يترقب قال رب نجني من القوم الظالمين ولما توجه تلقاء مدين قال عسى ربي أن يهديني سواء السبيل ولما ورد ماء مدين وجد عليه أمة من الناس يسقون ووجد من دونهم امرأتين تذودان قال ما خطبكما قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير فسقى لهما ثم تولى إلى الظل فقال رب إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.